Hey guys, so I'm starting today's video with a question for you all. So my question is, at what age did you start taking contributing into your pension seriously? Personally, I did not start until I was 33, and I am currently 37, will be 38 this year, and honestly I've only started taking this whole thing seriously over the last 5 years. And truth be told, I was of the opinion that one, I didn't have enough money to be sending towards my pension, and two, I just felt I was too young to be thinking about my pension. But as I started getting involved in the finance community on YouTube, reading about finances, understanding where we are, and really understanding capitalism as well, I was like, okay, damn. Especially, I'm in the UK and we have national insurance where every single month we pay not only our taxes but also contribution to the national insurance. And the premise with that is that once you reach retirement age, the government will be paying you some sort of money every single week or every single month, and that is what you'll be living on. Now, if you know anything about UK finances and a lot of things that I've spoken about, you'll know that at least for my generation, honestly, I do not believe national insurance will be around for us to tap into by the time we'll be retiring. I don't think so. I think a lot of people will be up a creek without a paddle once they retire, because they're thinking, yes, the government will uphold their end of the bargain and pay them out. And even if they did, this is the thing that really tipped me over. It was when I started checking my national insurance contributions, it predicted that by the time I'm retiring, I'll only be entitled to about £100, less than £125 a week. And this has been adjusted for inflation according to the government website. And I was just like, child, £100, £125 a week, with the way everything is going up in prices, I don't think I'll be able to survive. And as somebody who has worked in with the elderly population, I worked care in the community when I was at school, and then when I went to university, I also still continued with care in the community. I saw way too many people who were elderly, needed care, and could not afford to heat up the house. This one particular lady, she even had two pensions. One was hers and one was her late husband's, but she still couldn't afford to have heating on, except when asked the carers would visit her, and that's the only time she would like switch it on for a bit, and that was it for the day. So for me, funny enough, it didn't click then. I was just like, well, that's old people problems. That's all I thought about. I didn't think much about it until recently. And I want to honestly give credit to the humble penny. I'll leave the link to the specific video that I also mentioned in my net worth update. I give credit to the humble penny purely because Kenny challenged those of us in their community who wanted to give it a try to raise our pension pots to 50k or 100k. I think it was 100k. And I remember at that time thinking, right, okay, like, because at that time I literally had no clue like where I was in terms of my pension, but I was like, right, okay, I would need to knock it down if there's any hope of me, at least even if I don't get to 100k, at least start making my way towards achieving that goal. So today's video is literally all about how I went from having only over £10,000 in my pension pots to now having 100k, over 100k in my pension pot. And obviously you guys know your girl writes everything down. I've got two pieces of paper with a lot of information. The first one was the one that I wrote that I was just going to honestly share on a high level, but then I was like, no, it will be really useful to go back and review some of my old pay slips to see what I was doing, because even though I have been able to achieve this huge milestone only in the last 5 years, I actually started looking at this without really giving it much thought earlier than that. And I say this because when I was looking at my pay slips, I went back to my previous employer, who I worked for about 6 years before we got acquired by my current employer. And I've been with my current employer for also 6 years. So I went back to all those pay slips, and I was also thinking to myself, I was like, when did the rules change in the UK for pension? Because I remember when I started out working as a graduate, pension contribution was optional. And then years later in my career, it changed from being optional to mandatory for everybody. You had to actively opt out so that your employer is not deducting pension. That I honestly want to say it was around 2016. I'll try and find the information and put it on the screen, but I want to say it's 2016 because for me, these contributions only started in 2017. So if it's not 2016, it's maybe 2017, because that's the first evidence I see of pension contribution. Or maybe it was earlier than that and I opted out, and then maybe somehow I decided to opt in 2017. I'm not really sure, but the screenshot I would have put in the video would tell us when it became like you had to opt out in the UK. But anyway, so what I'm going to try and do is, let me move to the side a bit, and I'm going to put a table here in a moment where I will be sharing with you my journey over the last 5 years, right? Over the last 5 years. And honestly, the growth that I have seen when it comes to my pension, this has all come from me doing 3 things. And these 3 things are things that I rewatched Kenny's video from the Humble Penny yesterday, and I realized I actually did apply all of these things without even realizing it. But the 3 things that I will accredit to helping me reach this goal was, 1, I got a pay rise from my employer. When I started out with my previous employer, I was earning 30K, and then every year I got a pay rise, and it was 3%, 2%, 3% pay rise. At that time, I started my graduate job at 30K. So for me, anything above that was just like, Lord, thank you. And then I literally just went up and up within my career. So then it was like, yay. And I looked at these pay slips from 2014. I'm like, child, you're getting like 2,500 gross, and you had, outside of taxes and NI, there was 0 deductions. Like 0 deductions. And I was just like, nothing was going to the pension. I was really surprised. The current Miranda is surprised by the younger Miranda because, child. Anyway, but looking back, I was like, wow, yeah. But I started at 30K, and I honestly want to say by the time I was starting my pension contribution, I honestly want to say I was at least at 40K at that point. 40K or 45K at that point. But anyway, let me put the table on the screen now, and we'll just go through it. So I said first it was, sorry, before I put the table, I'm all over the place. But anyway, I say the pay rise. So I moved from 30K to 45K, 50K. Then I moved with the new employer. I moved from 50K to 65, and then to 75, and I'm still going. Because I mean, we're not really allowed to talk about our pay and what have you, but you guys know that I've got rental properties and all of that. And last year I shared with you that my overall income gross is about 145. So you work it out from there, okay? Anyway, so I got a pay rise. Salary sacrifice was the biggest game changer for me when I started really, and you will see from when I moved to this piece of paper how I transitioned. Okay, you will see that. And then the other one was additional contributions that I made, which was contributions after taxes to my SIP, and also as of last year, as of 2024, contributions into a LISA that I'm also using as part of my pension pot. So that is what I attribute to helping me move from over 10K in my pension to over 100K in my pension in the last 5 years. So starting off, again, we'll move to the side a bit. Starting off in 2020, my pension pot, and this was pension pot from my previous employer and pension pot with my current employer, combined came to 10,851 and 9 pence. So that was in 2020. That's where I was with my pension contributions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be inserting where I was. I got the December 2020 tracker. I will insert where, like, how much I had in each of these 2 pension pots, because in the end I started making certain money moves. But in 2020, that's where I was. 2021, December 2021, I was at 26,102 and 35 pence. The table that I'm showing you guys right now on the screen, you will see I've also included the difference that I saw in, you know, every single year. I wanted to include that tab to be able to help me with the numbers. I've got my phone here because I don't have that information on a piece of paper. So the difference between December 2020 and December 2021 was over 15,000 pounds. So I was able to contribute over 15,000 pounds in that year, and you will see when I start talking about the contributions there in a moment. 2022, my pension amount went from 26,000 to 35,700 plus at December 2022, which was a 9,000 pound difference, 9,600 plus difference. Then December 2023, I ended that year at under 60K. I was really hoping to close at 60K, but the markets were not agreeing with me, so I ended at 59,285, and that was a difference of 23,582 pounds. December 2024, I ended at 93,213 pounds, and that was a difference from the previous year of 33,928 pounds. March, since Q1 of 2025 is over, and that's when I've achieved my 100K. This is why I'm sharing this video in April with you guys. March, by the end of March 31st, my total pension pot size came to 100 grand. And that was a difference from December of 2024 to end of March of 2025. That's a difference of 7,677 and 37 pence. I do have a personal target for this year to be at least 140, 150 in my pension pot. I think I'll be able to achieve that. For sure. I think I'll be able to achieve that, especially if I take a look at the difference between December 2023 and December 2024. That's 33 grand right there. So I think I'll be able to achieve that, provided the markets get back to where they need to be. That is provided the markets do that. So overall, the difference for me, since I started tracking this seriously, so since December of 2020 through to March of 2025, is 90 grand, you guys. 90 grand is the difference. How crazy is that? Like, how crazy is that? I ended 2020 December 10,851 and 9 pence. End of March, I was at 100 grand 891 and 14 pence. Like, how crazy is that? And I mentioned to you guys that I attribute this to obviously having pay rises. It does really help, but that's not the only thing that helped me get to where I am right now, because a lot of people a lot of people do get pay rises, but not everybody adjusts their contributions to the pension once they get a pay rise. Lifestyle creep is a thing, because you start making more money, you start bringing in more money, you're not thinking about the pension. But I went the other way. I was just like, okay. And the big reason why I went the other way, outside of like wanting to secure my future, is honestly because of the taxes. Taxes were the biggest motivator for me to be able to have this salary sacrifice. I contribute a lot towards my pension purely because otherwise I'll have to pay a lot more in taxes. So the government have the incentive of I get to contribute monies, my employer take out monies from my paycheck before it gets taxed. So by the time the government is taxing me, it's less than what it would have been. So then, for example, if my monthly pay is 10K, I'm contributing like 2,500 to my pension, and the government is taxing me on £8,000. Is it 8,000? No, 7,500. That's what I have done. So instead of the government taxing me on the entire 10K, I'm having them tax me on 7,500 and putting 2,500 into my pension pot. Now remember, this is the UK, okay? They just didn't give us this lovely incentive. They will tax us in the future when it's time for us to draw down from our pension. So for now, I may be getting nowhere with it, but HMRC don't miss, okay? Just so you know. But anyway, so salary sacrifice was the biggest contributor to me actually moving from £10,000 to £100,000. Now, this piece of paper, if I'm not feeling too lazy, I'll type all of this up in my notes app and then share it with you guys. But anyway, here's how it went. So like I said, July 2017, let me move to the side again so that I can share this here if I decide to type it up. So July 2017 is the first record that I see of me contributing something to a pension. Okay, so and that contribution was a whopping £22.01 from my paycheck, and then my employer matched that and gave me £55.07. I'm gonna bring out my calculator because I need to look, like, we need to look at these numbers together. £22.01 plus the £55.03 that the government was giving me. So every single month I was contributing £77.04 every single month towards my pension. And then September, I think I may have gotten a pay rise there. It moved from £22 to £26. So £26.67 plus my employer putting in 66 and 67 pence. That moved from 77 to 93 pounds, which was great. And from September, so that was September 2017, and that stayed the same until April of 2018, where my contribution upped. And this is because I got a pay rise, I know for a fact, because I went from contributing £26 to 67 pence to contributing £100. I want to say 2018 is when I jumped from 45 to 50. No, or was it, I don't really know, to be honest, but at this point I was definitely, in 2018 I was earning 50k. That 2018, yes, I was earning 50k. So that was like the contribution. So I was sending £100 and my employer was sending 125. So 225 is what I then started contributing towards my pension. That stayed the same for the whole financial year until April of 2019, where my contribution went up from £100 to £166.67, plus my employer doing the same amount. They were matching me, so that meant I was sending £333.34 towards my pension. So that stayed from April of 2019 all the way until February of 2020, and this is where we are reading these numbers from. Now, at the time I was moving from my previous employer, so up until April 2019, that financial year, April 2019, I was still with my previous employer, and I had increased my contribution with that previous employer to 333.34 pence, right? So that contribution continued all the way from April 2019 all the way until January 2020, because that's when we got acquired by my current employer. Okay, and I was at 50k at that point with my previous employer. So when I joined the new employment, it's still, I was at 50K, but I got a small pay rise. My contribution went up from 166 to 175. Now, at this point, my pension with my previous employer was at 3,209 and 2 pence. So these 22 pounds, 26 pounds, 100 pounds, 168 pounds here from 2017 to 2019. Actually, let me say all the way up, yes, up to until, let me say December 2019, I had only managed to put in over 3,000 pounds in my pension. So 2017, 2018, 2019. Yeah, 3 years, 3.5 years. No, yes, 3.5 years. Is it? Oh, thereabouts, I think. I managed 3,200 into my pension. That's how much I managed. Then February of 2020, my contribution upped a little bit because, like I said, I got a pay rise, and that was 175. Actually, no, it wasn't a pay rise. It was because we were switching between my previous employer with my new employer. So, but my contribution was a little bit higher. It was 175.64, and my employer matched exactly that. Then with my new employer, when we started the financial year in April, I went back to what I was contributing from 2019, which was 166 pounds and 67 pence. The only difference here is my new employer was actually giving me double. So I was contributing 166.67, and they were contributing 333 and 33 pence. That's how much they were contributing. So this is why it makes sense to me now, because it wasn't making sense before, but it makes sense to me now that by the end of the year, because this money was invested as well in the pension pot that I held, I went from being at 3,200 to actually ending the year at 10,851, which is pretty impressive. I must say, it was pretty impressive that is what I ended up contributing. Now, there are other factors here that I don't know if I'm at liberty to say, but there were incentives at work that meant that I contributed a little bit more towards my pension, because I know in December 2020, I started contributing 321. Actually, no. December 2020 is when I accepted a position in the new company, and my pay went from 50,000 to 65,000. I think it was like 65,500. Yeah, I think that's what it moved to. So my new contribution was, I was now putting in 321.67, and my employer was doubling that. Yeah, the numbers are starting to add up to me in my mind. But yeah, so 2020, I accepted a position in the company, and my contributions went up for my pension. January 2021 was the next time I made an adjustment. So I was now contributing, I don't know why I reduced how much I was contributing, but I was contributing 218 and 33 pence, and my employer contributed. Okay, so I have run out of space in my previous memory card, so excuse me, we're going to now continue on and finish this video. So we were, I think, January 2021 when I was saying my contributions went down from what they were in December 2020. So they went down to 218 and 33 pence, and my employer was contributing 436 and 67 pence. March, I went up a little bit and contributed 224 and 68 pence, and my employer went up a little bit as well. April of 2022, I decided, this is when I started playing around with the benefit system that my current employer has. So we have an opportunity to do additional contributions towards our pension every single month, as well as utilizing our pensions as utilizing our bonuses every single year as well. So I was like, okay, the only thing I could do from April onwards was really manipulate how much I wanted to contribute every single month to my monthly paychecks, because the bonus wasn't coming for another year. So April of 2022, I continued on my 224 pounds and 68 pence, but I did an additional contribution from my paycheck of 300 pounds, and then my employer only matched my actual contribution, which was 449 and 36 pence. So when I contributed 4%, my employer, you know, did double that. So I was sending, I think I want to say I was sending about like £1,000 towards my pension every single month because of that. And then when I added the 300, I started sending between 1,000 to 200, 1,100 to 1,200, I believe. And then that stayed on for the rest of the financial year until March of 2023, when I decided to, for the first time ever since I started working for this company, to make use of my bonus, right? So I did contribute my 236.68 plus my 300 pounds, and then I sent an additional 1,415 and 50 pence for my bonus towards my pension, and my employer did also their double that they contribute. So because I contributed part of my bonus, my employer doubled that contribution. So I want to say where's my phone? I want to say I actually did like 3,000 that year towards that month towards my pension. I've got my phone here. I'm gonna go into our pension app, because I think we've been using this since I've been with this employer, I've been using that provider ever since, and I think they should have the record of those transactions, like how much did we put in, I want to say April of 20, is it April? No, March 2023. So let me see if I can change this. March 2023. No, so if I put 1st March 2023, confirm all the way to April 1st 2020. Yeah, 2024. Let me see, apply filter. I just want to see like how much went. So 2023. Okay, so 2023, my regular contribution was 1,415 and 51 pence, and then my employer did contribute 2,425 and 54 pence. So I did do almost 4,000 pounds contribution in April of 2023 towards my pension. Sorry, in March of 2023 towards my pension, and thereafter, April 2023, I contributed 1,100. I didn't make any changes until June. So June, I think, is when our benefits window opens, so I can make adjustments. So I decided, when I was contributing the 236, that was, I think, 4% of what I was contributing instead of the full 8%. So I decided, let me just do 8% instead of doing this additional investing malaki. So I'm like, okay, let me go for that. So June 2023, I moved up to 473 and 36 pence, and my employer matched that as well, the full 8%. So my employer, actually, I do 8%, my employer matches at 12%, so I'm actually sending 20% towards my pension every single month. The other adjustment that I made was October 2023, where I was still using the 8%, but I decided I wanted to send 164 as well. And if I look here for my October contribution, yes, so it moved back to being 1,200 every single month is what I was sending towards my pension, which I loved for me. In November of 2023, so many things happened in 2023. I got a new job that I'd applied for in a different department, so that came with a pay rise. I requested a 10% pay rise from what I was earning before, so that changed some things for me. So my contribution went to £520 and 67 pence. I was still doing my 164 and my employer matching. So November of 2023, my contribution my contribution was 1,200. Oh yeah, no, the October one, let me see, October was 1,100. Yeah, so there was a change there as well. This video is going on for a long time. Anyway, we're almost there with these numbers. January 2024, for those of you who watch my videos, you know I did some number tweaking in 2024, but January, February, my contributions were £520 still. I was doing 194 or 179 contributions, but let's just say my overall contributions towards my pension was still 1,200. I was still playing the system to see what would make a lot more sense for me, would benefit me in the long run. By March time last year, got a pay rise and went up to 543 is my contribution, which my employer was giving, and I also contributed my pension. So in March of 2023, I contributed about £6,000 towards my pension for that month. And then April, still 543. I was still contributing 256 extra towards my pension because I wanted to be doing 1,500 every single month. And then those who watch my videos know that October, November, December of 2024, I was asking whether I should give up investing so I can pay off my debt, and obviously there was a lot of opinions shared, and also I realized that I needed to reduce my contribution. So I paused Vanguard, ISA, my general investment accounts, but for my pension I didn't pause it. All I did was stop sending an additional £400 towards my pension, and I instead started sending £23 additionally. So I was still sending 1,200 to my pension, which I was happy about, but I didn't have that additional £400 to send. January 2025, I went back to what I was doing before I took that 3-month break. So we went back to contributing 1,500 towards my pension, and then as of March this year, got that bonus pay and was able to contribute about £5,000 towards my pension. So like I said, for me, I have attributed a lot of the growth that I've seen with my pension towards me getting a pay rise as I climb up the corporate ladder. And with that pay rise, I then went on to make sure that I had implemented salary sacrifice. A lot of people, whenever I've mentioned salary sacrifice to people, I'm always met with pushback, but I can't force people to do something that they don't want to do. If you want to do salary sacrifice, you can. I have done it, and I have moved from having £10,000 in my pension to having 100k in 5 years. Yeah, in 5 years. And then, like I said, additionally, I have been contributing into my SIP. I send £200 every single month towards my SIP, and also to my LISA, which I now contribute £75. So I still practice the principle of paying myself first. For me, paying myself first before I even touch the money looks like salary sacrifice. So my employer, before I even get to see the money in my account, my employer has already taken out monies that I want sent towards my pension, towards my other benefits like dental, healthcare, and all of that good jazz. And then when I do get the money myself, I then send some of that money towards my SIP and towards my LISA as well as part of my pension. Again, I can't thank the Humble Penny enough for all of the videos that I've made, the guidance. I was part of their 5 a.m. club. Absolutely love that. So to be now at 100K, even with everything that's going on with the market. I'm even scared, you guys, because to see the numbers just keep going down, down, and down, it's kind of like, oh. I was at 125K overall in my investments. I think I'm now 100 and I think I'll just say 115. Sometimes, but at least my pension is still over 100K, so there is that. But yeah, you guys, there was a lot of mumbling in this video, but I hope you found it useful. With these videos, I always seem to have like a train of thought, but then when I start talking, it's kind of like verbal diarrhea and I just go all over the place. So this is why I don't like having like a script per se, because I'm definitely gonna deviate. There's one thing I would do is deviate. But anyway, that is the video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video real soon.